Good afternoon, Cambridge Trust students. Welcome to this, our first event to be held virtually. I'm Claire Lambert, and I'm very happy to see that so many of you have been able to join us today. The aim of this event is to welcome you all, to give you a sense of the community of Cambridge Trust scholars, in addition to your many other overlapping communities in Cambridge, and to give you further information about the Trust and the dedicated team who work to help you take up your places at Cambridge and support you whilst you're here. Following the sequence of talks you're about to hear, there'll be a live Q&A session. Please do feel free to submit your questions to the speakers using the chat facility throughout the event, and we will attempt to answer as many as we can in the time that we have. In the meantime, sit back and relax, just two of the benefits of attending a virtual event, and allow me to introduce you to our first speaker, Chair of the Cambridge Trust Board, Professor Michael Proctor.
A very warm welcome to you all to this virtual get-together for new students supported by the Cambridge Trust. I'm Michael Proctor, I'm the Provost of King's College, and I'm the Chair of the Trustees. And I'm very pleased to say that there will be some talks later from the Director and other officers of the Trust, and also from two of the students, just for you to learn how much the Trust can do for you and how pleased we are to welcome you to Cambridge. I know that some of you have been unable to attend right now, but hopefully you'll be able to get here in the future. And it's good that because we're online, you can listen to this anyway. So I wish you the very best study at Cambridge or even remotely. And I'll hand you over now to the next speaker who will tell you more about the work of the Trust.
Good afternoon. I'm Helen Pennant, Director of the Cambridge Trust, a role I've had the pleasure of doing for the past 7 years. Today, it's my privilege to welcome you, Cambridge Trust scholars, as you embark on a new course of study or research. At the beginning of an academic year, unlike any other, I'm aware that I'm greeting you in unusual circumstances. Many of you have already arrived and are settling into your colleges. Those in college accommodation may already have had what will be a weekly screening test for COVID-19. Others of you have yet to arrive, remaining at home for the beginning of your studies. And some of you have arrived but have had to be in quarantine. I'd like to say at this point how much I admire your determination to pursue your study and research against such an unusual and unsettling background. As well as welcoming you, I'd like to congratulate you. Not only did you win a place at one of the world's best universities, you also secured funding against a rigorous and highly competitive process. You all have Cambridge Trust Awards, and you will notice that they have a range of different names. This is to recognise our many partners and donors who make the scholarships possible. The Trust was founded over 30 years ago to help international students who had financial challenges in coming to Cambridge. Today, our remit, and I'm pleased to say our funding, has expanded so that we help students at every level of degree, undergraduate, master's, PhD, in every subject and from every country, including the UK. We have changed our remit, but we have remained true to our original mission of widening access And this is a common thread throughout all our scholarship programmes. The Trust is pleased and honoured to provide you with funding, and we also aim to support you in other ways, helping you make connections and also, on occasions, to navigate what can seem to be a rather complex environment at Cambridge. In this new reality of physical distancing, we may need to be creative about the ways we connect, but please be assured that my team and I remain here to support you. In previous years, when I've given this welcome to new scholars, I've said that Cambridge is an especially challenging and also an especially supportive environment. This is especially true in this unusual year. This virtual event connects us, a diverse group of individuals with different interests and from different countries. And if I was to think of a positive outcome from this challenging time of the pandemic, it would be this, that we are in it in a way which forces us to work together as a community. Never has the world relied so heavily on academic discovery. We depend on new solutions, not just in medical science, but in other disciplines too, to help us through this pandemic. Your work as students and scholars is especially important at this time. So there's the challenge. Now, what about the support? There are many sources of support for you at Cambridge, and I'd just like to single out one of them now. That's your college tutor. You may already have met that person, but if not, I urge you to make contact. They will be your guide for pastoral and academic matters, helping you make a success of your time at Cambridge. The relationship with your college tutor is often as good as you make it. So if they haven't reached out, please make contact. On a personal note, I'd like to urge you to look after your health, both physical and mental. The way in which we are now required to work does put an unusual strain on us, and please monitor how you are doing. With that, I'd like to wish you the best of health and success as you pursue your academic studies this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen, and let me add my warm welcome to you all to this Cambridge Trust virtual event. In fact, it would be much better if we were meeting in person, but I understand that we have to use this medium to come across to you. I'm Sue Osterfield and I'm Deputy Director of the Cambridge Trust. I manage the scholarship programme together with my colleagues, Michelle Lucas, Ileana Donofrio, Sharon Pym, Jo Leeds, Carmen Butler, and Natasha Saba. Now, they help me in our mission to enable as many students as possible to study and benefit from an education at the University of Cambridge. The Cambridge Trust was established in 1981, and since that time has supported 20,000 students in their studies at the university. So you can see you will be joining a long line and following in their footsteps. Now, taking you back to almost a year ago, you had to be very brave because you made an application to the University of Cambridge, and we know it has a high reputation. But you obviously demonstrated that you have the qualities that are looked for in a student to come to the University of Cambridge. So well done and congratulations on that front. The next thing you had to do was be patient, because the Cambridge Trust takes its time in coming back to you This is because we have to do our work of matching you with the best possible source of funding to enable you to study at Cambridge. Now, this means we have to look and see several eligibility criteria about you that means that you would be a strong candidate for support from our funding partners. Now, we send out shortlists to our funding partners and await for their response. So that is the time delay. Sometimes we're able to shorten that time where the Cambridge Trust is responsible for its own scholarships. So that comes from the funding we have available, that we are not dependent on our funding partners. But you can see this is a very complex program. We work with many partners around the world. And obviously it takes time to get decisions back. So we have to ask for your patience during that time. But when you've been made your award, we hope that will meet your financial guarantee and enable you to enter the next stage of your application and your journey as a student. So it's over to you to be resourceful. You need to meet the rest of the conditions of your admission. So you have to provide evidence to support your claim. You have to provide evidence of your academic qualifications. You have to provide your English proficiency and any other material that you are asked for by the university. So when you get your confirmation of acceptance for studies, then you can begin the process of making arrangements to come to Cambridge. So whether you have to apply for your visa if you're coming from overseas and arranging for your travel before you can take up your place. And the next stage, when you get to Cambridge, we find that in these challenging times, you have to be quite resilient. So we would ask you to observe the government's advice, which is hands, face, and space. Now, obviously, the university has to follow the government guidelines in this regard, and I'm sure that you will be very well looked after in your college, and they are quite prepared to observe the social distancing and enabling you to come into residence for any quarantine period. So you will have that benefit. You will also be guided by a college tutor whose advice you can seek. But we are here at the Cambridge Trust for you too. And so please get in touch with us if you have any questions about your scholarship, about your studies in Cambridge, that we can help you with. We would like to continue to be in touch with you, and wherever possible, we will put you in touch with the funding partners that are supporting your studies. So I think all it remains for me to say is welcome, and my team and I very much hope that you will enjoy your studies at Cambridge and that you will benefit from your time and that your student journey will be complete.
I'm David Chukwuma-Izogu, and I happen to be doing my PhD in theory and computational chemistry here at the University of Cambridge. And I have the pleasure to kind of speak to you today about my experience since being in Cambridge for the past 3 years. And so, but before I do that, I would like to say a very big welcome to each and every one of you who've made it this far. So you've not just been admitted to Cambridge, but you've now been able to secure funding by the Cambridge Trust to do your academic program here at Cambridge. And so it's really a very big feat. I want you to beat your chest and be proud of what you've achieved so far. And so now that you've now achieved this, the next thing is for you to know about the community which you are now going to join in the next, be it 9 months, 1 year, 3 years, 4 years, as the case might be, depending on the program which you are here to run. And so for you to get to know Cambridge, I want to tell you that this is a magical and amazing place. Now that you've arrived, the journey begins. And so for you to start that journey, the first tip I will give you is to try to turn your mirror into windows at some point so that you can see others just as you see yourself. Because that is actually the way we build the community and make the community so inclusive and a place for everyone to fit into. But before then, you are arriving Cambridge at an extraordinary time. We faced the pandemic occasioned by COVID-19. And so Cambridge is no longer what it used to be. But I still want to tell you that despite that, it is still an amazing place. I have been here since March up to this point. I missed this whole of COVID, and I'm still having a very wonderful experience, I must tell you. So do not be kind of a setback by the fact that you might not have the full Cambridge experience, which each and every one of us have had in the absence of COVID. So you can still enjoy Cambridge to its fullness. And so the next thing I want to talk about is you getting involved. There are so many ways you can get involved despite COVID-19. It could be socials, it could be sports clubs, societies, academic activities, volunteering, or even your own personal development, which you can acquire through series of trainings or entrepreneurial activity that are going on all around the university, be it a George Business School or what have you. For me, I have been able to tap into this series of opportunities at my college, in my department, at George Business School, within and even outside Cambridge. So it's an amazing place and there are a whole lot of opportunities for you. But before then, I want to encourage you not to let the imposter syndrome that have led people to kind of limit themselves affect what you can achieve here. For the fact that you are here, I want to tell you that you are worth it and you can fit in. So do not think that there are a whole lot of smart people and you might not be able to compete. It is a learning process. We all are here to learn. And so with time, what you think you might not know, you get to it, you get used to it and all that. And so in terms of opportunity, I have been able to leverage on a whole lot of amazing opportunity here, like I said, from networking, building network at my college, around the university. And I'm beginning to see how far this network that I have built are going to take me in life as I wrap up my PhD going forward. And so I want to say a very big thank you to the trust for funding my scholarship, my study here at Cambridge generously, without which I might not have had the amazing opportunity to leverage on all the things that I have here across Cambridge. And so for you, you have the same opportunity that I have. You have the funding, and so you can focus on your studies and every other things around. And so I say a very big welcome to Cambridge. I hope to see you around. Thank you.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the University of Cambridge. But more importantly, welcome to the Cambridge Trust community. My name is Yomna Zantani, and I'm a Master of Law student, having received the Rowan Williams Cambridge Studentship and the Althoraya Foundation Studentship. And I'm a proud member of Clare Hall College. I remember this time last year during my welcome reception, I was feeling nervous, excited, and afraid of the unknown. And I can imagine that with the current circumstances this year, these feelings are a lot more amplified. But you made it here despite all of this. You still made it here to study something that you're passionate about. And to us, you're already a winner and so incredibly resilient. Your passion was also so strong that you got a scholarship to come here to pursue it. So you're already doing a really, really good job. As you start this journey, my advice to you is to make sure that you only do the things you love. It is so easy in a place like Cambridge to feel left out or to feel like an odd puzzle piece. So it's only natural to try and take on a lot of activities. What I came to realize is that that's not possible. There is no time to do everything and juggle a degree. So what I would suggest is doing only the things you love and only the things that make you happy, not things that you feel like you have to do because everyone else is. A good tip to have is to have only 3 activities that make you happy, such as a sporting activity. For me, that was rowing, an academic activity. For me, that was being the president of the Law Society of my college, and one social activity. That could be dancing or singing. When you only do the things that you really like, it is so much easier to juggle them alongside your studies. And if you feel like you need any support, for example, if it comes to mental health, you're in really, really good hands. The support network here is amazing. For me personally and the rest of my cohort, the support we received transitioning from a normal Cambridge to a Cambridge under lockdown was phenomenal. Having experienced both sides of Cambridge, I don't think COVID ruined my experience drastically because I was still able to make memories and I was still able to feel a part of a community that you're now a part of too. So as you embark on this journey in quite peculiar circumstances, you are just a part of Cambridge as we all were, and you're going to have an incredible year too. So good luck, have fun, do your best, and yeah, get in touch and ask us questions whenever you want. So yeah, that's all from me.
Thank you, Yomna, and thank you to all our speakers this afternoon. I do hope you enjoyed listening to them. As you can see, 4 of the 5 speakers are now available here to answer any questions or comments you may have. As I mentioned, do put your questions into the chat facility so we can see them coming in. Before we do that, I'd just like to answer 2 questions from 2 new trust students who were unable to join us today for this live event, but they will be watching the recording, we'll be making available. One of them asked, will the Trust be holding further events throughout the academic year? The answer to that is happily yes. We plan to host a programme of events, including some with smaller groups of you, together with some of our funding partners who help us support you, and we'll be in touch with you about those. The next question I was asked from a student giving apologies was, what would your advice be to make contact with other student groups and societies, as I'm keen to build networks during my time here? David, perhaps you'd like to answer that and perhaps elaborate, if you would, on how, as you said in your talk, leveraged opportunities to build your own networks when you first came to Cambridge.
Yeah, sure, I'm happy to talk about that. So yeah, like I said, Cambridge could be like an overwhelming place for you, but one thing for sure that I want to tell you is that there are a whole lot of opportunities for you out here. You have the student societies, even within your department. There are committees all over Cambridge, in your college, and where have you. So it's always good to bring yourself out and then get involved with series of things that are happening. Yeah, I know that COVID might restrict some of those things, like in-person activities, but a whole lot of people are innovating the ways that societies engage with students. Like for instance, in Wolfson, there are going to be like the usual comedy nights we have. We are looking to move it into a virtual comedy night. So there are also people who are going to be planning all that. They are done by students, so you just get involved. So there are many opportunities. And you should also remember that apart from your own research or your own department, there are other ways you can get involved with what is happening. For instance, if you are entrepreneur minded, you might want to take up some opportunities at George Business School. These things are for free, but you get to use it to boost yourself, personal development, and what have you.
Thank you, David. I was asked another question about college activities, and Yomna, would you like to talk about you mentioned you're a proud member of Clare Hall. Would you like to just talk about what your college has done for you and your activities with your college?
Yeah, definitely. So Clare Hall has been amazing when it comes to just taking everything virtual. So for example, the rowing team has virtual workouts on Zoom. They're at 8 a.m., so I skip them. That's way too early for a workout. But lots of people really like working out at 8 a.m. And yeah, people wake up and join it, and you have the captain and things like that. We've also had some scavenger hunts. We've had some cooking evenings. So the GSB, which is our graduate student body, would leave cooking supplies at the Porter's Lodge. We'd all take them to our individual houses and have like a pancake challenge or best kind of pizza, no pineapples. Cook your best kind of chicken wings, cakes, what have you. And it's just a lot of fun. And then we just post all of the pictures of the activities that we've done on this app, I believe is called Discord, where Claire Hall has a channel. And yeah, there's a lot to do. There's actually so much that you might think you're falling behind on your studies, but don't worry, there are things to do. There's plenty.
Thank you, Yomna. We had a question from Yin Shan Lo. Thank you so much for this introductory meeting. You're most welcome. Thank you for coming. Is there currently a platform for Cambridge Trust scholars to get to know each other? Yes, there is. We have a Facebook group for current students in residence. If you haven't yet signed up, do. You can all chat to each other through there. If you wanted to make contact with a smaller group of you, just be in contact with me and we can help you facilitate that or put you in touch with each other. So yes, I'm happy to say there is. Okay, Charlotte, I believe we must send an overview of our research at the end of the year. Please, could you clarify how much detail is required in this? Thank you. Charlotte, that might differ depending on your course, but perhaps Sue would like to answer that. I can't see Sue.
I can certainly try and answer that for you. That will very much depend on your course of study. So I suggest that it will be down to your course tutors and directors to be in touch with you and tell you what is required of you for your work projects. But that would be my recommendation. But perhaps somebody that's experienced having to submit work could tell us more, Yomna or David?
So I only did my master's and I had to just submit basically a yearly report on what I did all year. And it's definitely not something to be really worried about. You just speak from the heart. Like if you've had a year where you took your passion and you worked on it, it's so much easier to talk about it. So just be honest and write what you want to write, not what you think we would like to read. So yeah.
Sophie's asked what's the name of the Facebook group. Sophie, the address of the Facebook group, together with our website address and an email address where you can be in contact with us, will come up at the end of this presentation. Quick question for MPhil students: if we change our thesis topic slightly from the initial proposal we made in our application, do we have to notify the trust or simply mention that we made the change in our write-up at the end of the year? I'm sorry, Sue, I think that's another one for you.
I really think that provided you're being guided on your course, it's not really any of the trust's concern. You are following the course of study and that is under the guidance of a department. So we are just here to fund your studies, and so we have no academic input at all. We stand back from any interference with your course of study, provided you're making good progress. And if you did have any problems, obviously you can contact with us and we will try and help you solve them or point you in the right direction to find the information that you need from others. That would be what I advise.
Thanks. Helen, you had your hand up, I think.
Oh yes, I was going to add to the point about reporting back. So yes, we've covered the academic reports that you may be required to submit at the end of the year. Cambridge Trust will also ask you for an annual report, and we'd quite like to know from you more about your general experience at Cambridge. How are you doing? How are you benefiting? and we'll ask your academic supervisor or director of studies for their input. This is for us as a funder. As Sue says, we're not an academic body, but as a funder, we like to be able to see what is the difference, the scholarships that we award, what difference are they making? Thank you.
Thanks, Helen. More than one of you has asked, how long does it take to receive the funding once the BACS form's been submitted? Well, it should come through to you then without delay. We've paid most of our students already. Those that we haven't is because we didn't have their BACS details. So as we're receiving them, we're paying you. So we're doing that quite quickly. If you do have any specific worries or queries about such things, do email us and we will help you with your specific request. And as I said, the email address will come up at the end of this. But it's an email address that comes to the scholarships team. They all see it, so there won't be any delay with coming back to you. Okay, sorry, whilst I'm talking, I'm not looking. Helen, will you let us know when we do have to turn in this final report? I think I can answer that one. You will be prompted, I think, for your annual report. I'm sure Sue will correct me if I'm wrong. Jo Leeds looks after our annual reports from our scholars. So you'll be prompted by her when you should submit that. And indeed reminded if you haven't submitted it or your supervisor hasn't submitted it.
I think you'll find the annual reports are requested at probably just about the Easter term, when you've been here sufficient length of time for everybody to have got to know you, and you can report back on your experiences. So you've been here a good 6 months by then, and you can say what your experience in Cambridge has been, and your supervisor will have got to have known you a little by then, and your course director, and can give their assessment and give us a report too on how well you're doing.
And just to chip in as a typical communications manager, when you do those reports, do put in a nice image of yourself so that we can perhaps tell your stories or share it with the Facebook group so other students can see and understand about your work. Okay, is it possible to change the scholarship payment schedule to per month instead of per quarter? Well, I'm sorry, Luke, in an ideal world, that would be lovely, but to do that process monthly for some more than 1,200 students would, I think, be too much of a task. So I think quarterly is how it will remain.
We do like to make the payments quarterly so that you can budget accordingly. If you were facing any difficulties at all with budgeting, I would suggest you might speak with your college tutor to find out how you could make a payment plan or a schedule to manage things a little easier for you.
Thanks, Sue. For a one-year program, this is Matthew. Thank you, Matthew. Are there other progress submissions throughout the year that the Trust will request from us? Sue, there aren't, are there?
No, generally it's just an annual report that we would like to receive from you. You may be required to submit work for your studies, but that's not to do with the Trust.
Thanks, Sue. From Ella, for PhD students, will it be possible in 3 years at the end of the PhD to ask for an extension if your research progress has been negatively affected by COVID?
We have put into place quite an extensive system of considering appeals for further funding to support you during an extension period. Due to COVID, we realised that students had not been able to carry out their studies as completely as they would with lab closures. And so we have been considering quite an extensive number of applications for further support.
Thank you.
All the details are listed on our webpage.
We have added all the details that we possibly have on extension funding onto our website.
I can actually speak about
Sorry.
that experience. So my thesis was affected by COVID, and I applied for an extension. I applied through the Faculty of Law for the general deadline, and then I applied to the trust for a funding extension so that I could continue to remain at my college. And the support honestly was very, very helpful, and I managed to complete my degree. So the trust will be there for you if you require the help.
Thank you. And if I might add that we are committed to funding all our scholars to successful completion. And if, like Yomna, you need a bit of extra time, we certainly will take that into account and we would aim to help you. But I've got to say, please try and stay on schedule, because we're not able to give extensions to everyone. That would affect our capacity to give scholarships in future. And also, it's good to keep on schedule. I do appreciate that at the moment, the way in which we're having to work can seem cumbersome, and you may not be able to access resources in the normal way. But you should be given guidance on this from your academic supervisor, how to remain productive when you've got to adhere to a strict timetable for lab access, or the library, for example. But the aim should be to stay on track. The message is, don't worry overly if you get to the end and you can't manage. We can always look sympathetically at extensions, but at this stage, try and focus on being productive.
Eyelid, and please forgive me if that's not how to pronounce your name. Is it possible to thank the Trust always, its donors and the funding partners for their generosity officially, either in the annual report or in another way such as letter? Yes, by all means, thank the Trust. We love to be thanked. You can do that in your annual report. By all means, put it in a letter to us. The funding partner, if there is a funding partner attached to your scholarship, would be more than happy to hear any thanks or contact from you. Sorry, Helen, have you got your hand up?
Well, thank you very much for the question. That is an absolutely lovely sentiment, and I really appreciate you raising that at this early time. We would very much like to ask you to help us thank our funding partners. Normally we expect them to visit Cambridge throughout the year. We don't know whether visits will be possible, but we will be aiming to link with our funding partners virtually. And when we do that, we will invite you, because they're very, very keen to meet the students they support, and they are invested in your success. So it's something we'd very much like to do. And we've also got your name now, and we will certainly be inviting you to meet the partners. Thank you.
And I do apologise, I've just been told it's Ailey, pronounced Ailey, so I do apologise. Is it possible to change bank details given for the funding? Yes, I don't see any reason why not, if that payment's not already gone through to you. I assume you mean for the next funding payment. I don't see any reason why not. But if you email our finance team, trust.finance@admin.cam.ac.uk, they'll be able to help you with that query. When we present at conferences, when we present at conferences, are we asked to mention our scholarship at the Trust? No, you're not asked to at all. If you'd like to mention the Trust, you're welcome to, but that's not a requirement that we put in place. Sorry, I think we've asked that one. Do we need a UK bank account to receive the funding? Yes, we do we not, Sue?
At the moment, we are asking for UK bank accounts because, in a way, it's a check that we know you've come into residence, and we are verifying that you are here with your college or department. And we know it's taking time, obviously, with some facing quarantine, making appointments to open bank accounts. But we do promise, as soon as we get your details, we will endeavour to pay you as soon as ever we can. If it turns out that you do have to join us remotely, we're still working out how we can pay you remotely. So just to be in touch, and again, use that Trust Finance email address. Tell us that you are starting remotely, you've made arrangements to do so, and we will work out how we can pay you. And hopefully you will be able to join us in a subsequent term or by the division of term. And so then we will be able to resume normal payment arrangements.
Yes, and I'd like to add to that this question about banking and paying into bank accounts, this is a new process for the Trust. Before COVID, we used to give all our scholars physical cheques via the college, which was a secure method of payment. Now we've had to develop a virtual system. There are two guiding principles to what we're doing. Is we will honour what we promised you in your offer letter. So if anybody is having to remain at home to pursue their studies from there, we will still pay you. The other thing that we have to make sure of is security of payment. So that's why we have asked for different documents to prove that the bank account is yours. We also need to know whether you have begun your course. So please bear with us. We are working as quickly as we can, and making payments to you is our core function, and we know how important it is. But these are the two things that we're having to negotiate. And because people are starting their studies in different ways because of the pandemic, it's less obvious to us to be able to identify whether you've actually come into residence and started your studies or started them online. So thank you.
Thank you, Helen. There's lots of online chat going on with lots of suggestions about bank accounts I can see going on, so that's great. I think we might actually learn something from this session too. Louisa, I apologise if the question was asked. Really, I'm not able to join early because my lecture overran. That's absolutely fine. Having a lecture is the perfect excuse for not turning up on time, Louisa. Is there any other commitment other than the annual submission that the Trust requires from scholars? That has been asked, and no, there isn't. We will hold events throughout the year. I'm not sure if you were here when I said that. We'll have a programme of events which will inform you of as and when they arise. And it would be really nice if you could attend those. But other than that, no obligation other than to undertake your studies and stay healthy and safe and happy. My scholarship offer letter has not arrived by post. Is it needed at any point later, and whom should I contact if so? Sue.
As we're all working remotely, you can imagine that we don't have access to the full range of office equipment. But if you really do require a hard copy offer letter, please let us know and we'll endeavour to send one to you. Alternatively, we are advised that the email version that we send to you is perfectly acceptable if you need to provide evidence of the funding. I believe that's fine for your visa purposes. It's serves to the university itself is the sponsor of your studies. So when you get your confirmation of acceptance for studies, that should be the document that you need to provide to get your visa. But if you would like a hard copy of your offer letter, we can always try and get one to you.
Thank you, Sue. If there's anybody got any further questions, please do put them in the chat now. If not, that would bring us to the conclusion of this event. If you think of a question after this event's finished, do be in contact with us. We'll be more than happy to help you. To echo what each and one of our speakers has said, the Trust team is here to support you. Keep in touch with us. The final slide now appearing has our details to help you do that. Thank you very much and goodbye.